Okay, it is November 4th, 2025. I've hired Art Bustamante, a private investigator, to come out um, and check out the Woodland Hills area uh, in order to document some of the worldwide stalking groups, the groupings directed at me, the pairs of twos backwards, all of that. I actually was going to have him come out last week and notified him on the internet to come out to check out the area, which I've been doing flights to sort of scope out the area every day and get proof of the activity. However, interesting enough, and this has happened with several other private investigators in the past, um, the next day everyone cleared out. The entire local area cleared out and everything went back to normal. So I have that video footage, but it's not edited. Okay, so this is a flight, and I'm going to just sort of document the surroundings or the groupings that fluctuate from different. There's thousands of different mental illness tactics directed at me, from verbal, visual, car tactics, clothing color tactics, you name it, and it's all based on internet-based communication. So you can see here that we have, this is a parking lot tactic, pairs of twos backwards together, these two white cars, and this is a worldwide thing, but when they're spaced out like that, you could really see it. Okay, so you can see the two white cars back there, and you can see these two white cars together here backwards in pairs of twos. And remember, they do this type of thing worldwide in case I ever leave my house and go anywhere. Okay, so here we can see two more white cars, pairs of twos. So it's not always pairs of twos. Sometimes it's pairs of threes. Sometimes it's pairs of fives. Sometimes it's two gray Civics. Sometimes it's two gray pickups. Sometimes it's two red pickups. Sometimes it's two Jeep Cherokees. Sometimes it's two. It rotates. And if you look around, not just where I'm at, but this is actually a U.S., could be even worldwide based thing, that the smoke screen, the cover up, is that if everyone is doing it, then why do you think it's about you? However, when you bring in the verbal harassments, example, if I'm joking on Twitter or Facebook and I go, alrighty then, sort of doing Jim Carrey jokes, playing off the things they're doing, a large percentage of businesses that I walk into employees will sit there and say alrighty, 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 and they'll be mimicking off my Facebook, and this will be worldwide. So, example, when I did the road trip across the U.S. buying the C6 Corvette, this was the hostility I was getting from almost every human interaction, which I started picking up on at 2001. Two whites there with Mike Huntley's death threat. Mike Huntley realizing that I was noticing his privacy violations with Tim Thompson on my computer, routing my hub into the Golden State Sports Medical Office while they were putting Trojans and doing all sorts of things. Okay, so we can see the two black cars backwards, pairs of twos at the end of the cul-de-sac here in the parking lot. And those will rotate, and they are normally predominantly black pickups. At one point, there was like 6 black pickups all backwards for years. Okay, rotating. To do what? To send idea of reference schizophrenia messages about things that really aren't about anything, but they're trying to sort of, when they're violating my privacy, so the two whites here, when they're violating my privacy, example, I've caught them so many times crippling access points, the firmware on access points, to the point where I finally launched a Linux-based distro, one where I can actually monitor a lot in detail the resource and bandwidth monitors, and install my own apps onto it to see who's in it and lock it down. But that took me 20 years of fighting off a planet of people minute by minute. to try to keep them out of my computers, and that's going to link to Debbie Woolman of Van Nuys Courthouse Court Reporter and Jennifer Pilchick Perelman and Jason Perelman. So to the left here, 2 white pickups as well. Okay, so already we have, now remember this is before Art Bustamante came out. It's about 10:30 a.m. I believe he arrives about 11:47. I'm not 100% sure. And instantly they knew. So this is the point that I'm literally messaging Art through a website saying, okay, today would work. We have a good amount of activity directed at me. Now this Warner Center Park here, along with all worldwide locations, you could literally sit out here for 5 hours and watch. You would have 50 to 100 groupings of pairs of whites and other tactics, but the pairs of whites are predominantly easier to see. Example right here below me, 2 whites. Coming up, I think 3 whites. Okay, so, and this is a lot easier to see through an aerial footage. The intentional, non-coincidental patterns. Now, remember that we're going to have intentional coincidences versus coincidences. So, some of these people are actually coincidences, but 80% are intentional. So, okay, so over here, across on the other side, 2 more whites. Towards the corner there, towards the Topanga Canyon. And then when you start seeing like 2 reds and 2 blues and things like that, you'll notice, now I can't recall, we have 2 more by the tree there, I think 2 more whites. It's hard to see. And then here's 2 more whites right below between the 2 trees. So I can't the first tree I can't really make out, but the second tree, between the first and second tree, there are 2 whites. Okay. And this is a toned down day. This is more less activity. Okay. But as the day goes by, if you were to, example, if I were to do 10 flights, you would literally have 100 groupings of pairs of 2s or more of whites, and it'll come back next day, same thing, come back next day. And it's not just here. So I have probably thousands of videos of driving randomly and going, every 100 feet, there's 2 whites, there's 3 whites, there's 2 whites, there's 3 whites, there's 2 whites, and it's not normal activity. It's statistically impossible. But when you're looking, example, over here, and you see the 2 white pickups, which is hard to see with the trees, and there's a clearing. Example, if you were sitting at the park, and there were no cars there, and there was a blue car there, if a second car pulled up, out of all the areas that he could park, he would choose to park next to the second blue car. Now, why is that? Because that's the way human thought process works? Well, that's not. Okay, so as we're coming up here, I want you to look at the 2 reds here. Okay, so on the second flight of this video, so here we have 2 reds here. So we're jumping from groups of whites to groups of reds, and you're going to say that's a coincidence. Well, these coincidences are all everywhere. Okay, so 2 more whites back here. And what's going to be interesting is the second flight here is right, I believe, as Art is arriving, and you're going to see a lot of these cars have cleared out on the Burbank area and in the Warner Center Met. So you're going to say, well, is it coincidence that they just knew to? Now remember that I sent this video. I don't know if Art watched it, but I sent Art this video and said, okay, this is what things look like. Come on out. So he knew what to look for. Now, this area is usually blatantly obvious right here in this business. with the car backwards tactics. Like example, this corner right here, usually we have two pickups together backwards and rotating pickup groups, things like that. And this is a little too hard to see right now, but so if you take the time, okay, so the two whites here, if you take the time to watch what's going on, but you're not, because it's literally billions of attacks per day directed at a single entity, and they know this, so they're not going to look at what their fellow man is doing directed at Kevin Perelman since he was 5 years old, because they're on the side of a planet of people stalking a 5-year-old for 50 years, which has exponentially been growing with my family, the police, and the psychology community. And by the time I made it to 29 years old, 2001, while they were trying to plant trash bags, LAPD was trying to plant trash bags in my house of marijuana with Rody Morales. Police confiscated marijuana. I started realizing that something was very wrong, and the privacy violations, and Mike Huntley routing our business hub. He wanted to start a company. He wanted me to come back. I think two whites here. He wanted me to come back from University of Colorado, start a company with me after a dialogue with my friend Rody Morales, a pool player and friend, about my father putting a shock collar on his dog, not in a mean way or anything, just talking about my life. And Mike Huntley flies on in and wants me to start a company with him, and my father wants me to. Okay, so this is 1 p.m. So Art states on his footage 11, which I'm going to play after this, 11:47. That he was here, I believe. But I want you, so this is right after I notified him. Okay, come on out. Now, I want you to notice this. This is very important. Okay. We can first look at the red car backwards, even though it's by itself. Okay, this white car is now by itself. Okay, so there's no longer this white car too is now by itself. Okay, so this white car, there were two white cars right here. They're now by themselves. So if I send Art this video, and I don't know if he watched it or not, I say, okay, come on out. This is sort of what you're going to see. And they all clear out. So the first question you're going to say, now remember that my phones, my privacy has been violated since 1994. Phones, computers, internet, no doubt NSA level operations. Please track the cell phone. That's NSA technology. But also the investigator, not necessarily saying Art did this, but the investigator could theoretically just go on the internet and say, Kevin wants me to come out. Everyone clear out. So that's another part of the privacy violation tactics that could or could not be, but it's going to create that Mike Huntley's statement, world of paranoia, right? Okay, we're doing this intentionally with worldwide groups, and every time I call a private investigator, they clear out. And I notified Art that. I said, hey, okay, and last week on video, I have video the day before and the day after. And the day after, this entire area looks almost normal, especially the park, which is so aggressive. Now remember, once again, this is worldwide. Okay, so you've just seen some of the more obvious ones on video, from pairs of twos clear out into single entities, so that when the private investigator comes out, he's going to say, well, I see a car backwards, but so what? Because it's less obvious. It's more subtle. It's more watered down. It's more, Kevin, a car's parked backwards, right? But more importantly, those I think three right there. Okay, what are the chances that those three people knew at this very moment, as the private investigator is coming out, to clear out? Now, this area doesn't really clear out, but all down Burbank it does. The two reds down Burbank to the left, they also cleared out, and there's only one. So if you're driving down the street, you're going to so I don't see anything. I see a red car. I don't see anything. Okay. Now, this area is continuing so 2 whites here, as new people arrive to go to the park, to park in the same methods. Example, I'm going to choose to park by a second white car. I could park anywhere, but I choose to pair up with the second white car, and same with the reds and the blues. So 2 whites here on the left and the right of that street. It's a little hard to see. So 2s both on both sides. So pairs of 2s, whites. On the left here, I think 2 more whites. On the right, 2 more whites. As we come this way, and this is actually much less aggressive than it usually is. But my point here is that if I were sitting at this park, I would watch literally every 10 minutes 2 whites parked together here, 2 whites parked together there, 2 reds parked together here. If people see me, they'll push their alarm button twice, honk honk. And when you trace how these things start, they usually start with movies. Example, Kevin, come over to my house and let's watch Mike Huntley. Come over to my house and let's watch Fight Club. And then Kevin's crazy and he conforms to media, and everyone helped me make it look like he conforms to media by doing these things. And if something is said about it, because that is the entire concept of gang stalking, to get the target, the victim, to start talking about it, this guy suffers from. Okay, so he suffers from, we got to lock him away. He suffers from, and we have all sorts of proof. Yuka from the Warner Center Met years ago on the Google blogs, which is a federal crime, right? Defamation, slander, civil on the surface, but because she's hunting with worldwide groups to kill and eradicate with the police, it's no longer a civil crime. It's actual conspiracy. 2 whites here, the white pickup, and the conspiracy to commit murder or eradicate. Okay, whatever method of destroying someone's life and taking away their freedoms and forcing them into cages. Okay, these are the crimes of all crimes. These aren't little pranks or jokes or teases that my father, Ron Perelman, is trying to cover up with a smokescreen, because these are his. This is his agenda since I was 5, while he put shock collars on his dog Rhoda, right? And trying to shock the dog to death too. Okay, so in the end, it's going to be little messages about behavior, and you take too many walks, so we're going to shock you to death. Okay, so right here, the red Jeep. Earlier, we had 2 red cars together. Now there's 1. Okay, and back here, I believe we had another white car, pairs of 2s. Now there's 1. Okay, so all of Burbank here cleared out. Okay, it went from pairs of 2s to someone physically running to their car. The private investigators on the way, leaving 1. Now, if you drive down that street, you're going to say, yeah, I see a red car, but I don't see 2 red cars. It's just a red car. Okay, now most people will go, so there's 2 red cars. But yeah, but it's statistically impossible. There's this many pairs of 2s, and I don't know exactly when the pairs of 2s thing started, but I remember my mother sort of saying weird things on the phone because she likes to try to invoke reactions with cryptic messages, trying to make me look crazy. And she says, you have a problem too. And apparently, she was, I believe, hinting about literals, which, if they could theoretically switch my brain to thinking in the literals, they could try to make it look like I suffer from schizophrenia, and ideas of references, right? Because now those tactics started, I recall in 2001, I'm going to the beach, grabbing the camera and a tripod for photo, panoramic sunsets, and I come home and there's groups of Camrys, Toyota Camrys, in front of the gate where I walk in and leave. And at that point, I'm thinking to myself, now look at, you could sort of see groupings of whites there too. They're not necessarily pairs of 2s backwards, but that may or may not be. But if I come home and there's groups of Camrys, and then I'm having and I ask a girl for her phone number, and I come home and there's, let's say, 4 pink pickup trucks by the gate where I walk in. Okay, 2 whites here at the end of the cul-de-sac. Those are arriving. What they're doing is, well, you talk to a girl now. We're showing up with 4 pickup trucks, pink pickup trucks. We're hinting about picking up on a girl. We're trying to make you look like a schizophrenic. We're trying to induce. We're trying to send you messages so that you pick up on what we're doing and you say something about it. And then you're schizophrenic and see, I told you. See, everyone, I told you so. But if they weren't doing it, then everything would be how it should be, correct? So it's like if someone follows you around, punching you in the back of the head, going, that person's violent, and eventually you turn around and start punching them for your life. Okay, two more whites here at both sides of the cul-de-sacs. 2 whites on this side, 2 whites on that side. Could be coincidence, but the other ones aren't, correct? If someone says, that person's violent, so I'm going to keep punching them in the back of the head till they react. You didn't react because you're violent. You react because you needed to stop the violent person from hitting you in the back of the head over and over. Okay, so now this is Art's footage, and Art's footage is a little less defining, but you can still see how Art is zooming in on the white cars. But you can see the white groupings, but more importantly, you can see how the ones on Burbank and on those parking lots disappeared as he was coming out this way. So here's Art's footage that he's witnessing. However, it's a little less defined from his point of view.
Okay, so it is November 4th, 11:25 or 11:30 a.m. I am on Burbank Boulevard. Just looking in the area here. And this is a little cul-de-sac side street right next to address 21620 Burbank Boulevard in Woodland Hills. I'm going to drive over to the other side and see what I can see. Okay, so I am on Owensmouth. It's a small side street. This street is off of Burbank Boulevard. Looking at the groupings of the vehicles here. I do have some white on white. A lot of gray in this area, which is unusual. It's November 4th, 2025, 11:37 a.m. And I am out here in regards to Mr. Kevin Perelman. On Owensmouth Avenue, just looking for groupings at this point. There's a few white. Interestingly enough, there are some grays. Not too many reds right now. I'm going to go over on Burbank Avenue and see what's going on over there. So this is Warner Center Park. Located at 5800 Topanga Canyon Boulevard, Woodland Hills, 91367. I'm just going to take a quick drive around. It's about a block away from client's residence over off of Burbank. Looking north right now at this area. Don't really see heavy groupings. I'm not sure what that is about. But there are white and blue. I am seeing a ton of black and gray. And that is unusual to see that many black and gray. There's a white down there, 2 whites, but to see this many black and gray. There's more gray. These are all gray right here. All of those are gray. That is actually very interesting to see that many black and gray. So here we are on Khalifa Street and still Warner Center Park. This looks like the north side of it. A little more interesting of the groupings. Lighter vehicles. I'm going to head over to the east side and see what I can see over there. This looks like the south side of the park. I'm going to head back over to Burbank Boulevard in a minute. I wanted to catch this side. Interesting little orange car right there. And this is Burbank Boulevard. Again, checking the grouping. Okay, so I'm back at the park. It's just before 1 o'clock. Haven't seen too many heavy groupings by the complex itself. There's still some groupings out here. Yeah, they're rather interesting. It's all grays and blacks. The lights are coming out a little more nowadays, but